Hey guys, it's Matt. You don't need any video at all. I'm going to show a quick clip. There's a viral video. This little girl, her father keeps asking, "What do you want me to do?" And she's like, "Worry about yourself. Worry about yourself. Mind your own business." It's funny as anything. But we're going to apply her advice to our truth pursuit. Is what she presenting a truth drop? No. But we're going to take her good advice. She says, "Worry about yourself." She says, "Worry about yourself. What can I do for you? No, mind your own business," she's basically saying. But we're going to apply, I don't like the word worry, of course, but we're going to apply take care of yourself first in this presentation.
Worry about yourself. Worry about yourself.
Can I help?
No.
What do you want me to do?
Worry about yourself. Worry about yourself. Don't do that. You drive. Worry about yourself. Go drive.
For those who study the nature of reality as it relates to the human experience, inserting "who cares" in the right place along your journey saves about 10 years of pointless research. It'll save you from working on endless farms like the Alex Jones Ranch. Inserting, again, "who cares" in the right place. The reality construct wants you to care about collecting every little detail about every little thing. And hundreds of farmers, like Glenn Beck, for example, are there to provide this information, which only serves as a distraction to hide one from themselves. In this presentation, I'm going to cover a topic that is of little consequence to most people. Most people don't care about this little old thing. What is it? The nature of reality and what most likely is your role here as it relates to your spiritual journey that spans all of time. I'm not kidding. Most people would rather collect online coupon codes than explore whether this presentation at least determine for yourself if it's legitimate or not. So for those listening, the relative few interested in this tiny little topic, you might say to yourself, well, how is whatever your presentation going to be, how is it going to be any different than what thousands of mystics and gurus and shamans have put forth in the past? There's a big difference, not because I'm different. I'm way dumber than those people, I assure you. It's because the information that is available to us in 2020, per what this matrix is revealing, what the creeps have revealed, is at a whole new level. Veils have dropped. I'm just here at the right time to notice and put the pieces together. The structure of reality, the world probably seemed a lot more believable. Its presentation was more believable to Confucius and the great thinkers of the past. If it revealed itself as a bozo show, as it's revealing itself to us now, they would do a better job than I'm doing. I'm just saying I have access to be alive during the bozo show. So because of what it's revealing, not because I'm so smart, this presentation may get closer than those in the past, because they had to deal with like a reality that actually looked real. See, that was their problem. But these supposed spiritual teachers of today, it doesn't seem like any of them really adapt and use the current actions of the creeps and use the current breakdown of reality to understand or to put forth an understanding of ourselves. That's my beef and gripe with these spiritual teachers of today. I'll give the spiritual teachers of the past, just even as not even that far back, like Alan Watt or Alan Watts. I'll give them a break because, like I said, what's revealed now was not revealed then. We have a completely new world in terms of those who can see, those who have dropped veils since the 7-Eleven was a part-time job event. But I'm shocked how the current group of supposedly enlightened people or light workers or whatever, the current group rarely mentions what is so obvious to you and me and right in our face all the time. They barely mention it. This is where I have a beef with them. I do. I haven't watched too many interviews at, Buddha at the gas pump. I haven't watched too many, I'll admit. But over many years, I've watched those types of interviews, all right, many times. This is what I do. I almost never hear these people point directly at the 800-pound loosh-sucking gorilla that represents itself through government and represents itself through hundreds of different varieties of minions. And the pure evil that's so easy to see, very few of these people point directly at it. This is the only group here, what we call our community, that points directly at it. So either these enlightened people giving these interviews, either one, they don't see the full extent of the sinister element here that we do, or two, for some reason they don't talk about it or don't want to go there. Whatever these people call themselves, like mystics or light workers, or I don't know how they represent themselves. They seem like good people. They do, no doubt. And they give good advice, good personal advice. But how great can the advice be at the root level if they simply ignore the part of reality that is trying to bend the entire world over its perverted knee? It's time to point at it, guys, but use it to better ourselves, not ignore it. The pointing at the 800-pound slothering gorilla that's feeding off Loosh or whatever this thing is that is basically pure evil, this has been our focus. Okay, but over time, we need to admit we've spent too much time on it, and by doing that, actually given too much of our energy away to it, and even propped up its power. But even before the 7-Eleven was a part-time job event in 2001, how could it be ignored by those who were supposedly enlightened? Whatever. You understand what I mean. However, what seems like pure evil to many of us in this community, it can and should have different interpretations. I remind you, the jerks and the minions of this reality are playing a role, and one that we are finally using to benefit ourselves. I'm not thrilled about what's happening out my window, but I'm an idiot if I don't use it to benefit myself.
Well, Mr. Narrator, whoever you are, what makes you so qualified to give this level of advice, you asshole? You ain't Christian Murdy, you ain't Immanuel Kant, you ain't Nietzsche, you ain't even Alan Watts.
I never said I was, Butt Munch, but I'm here observing in and during the right time of history. The assholes are giving themselves away. I'm observing it and putting the pieces together. I'm not seeing through it. Reality isn't acting the way it did during all the times of those other people and all the other philosophers. I'm at an advantage, but I'm at the right time in history where reality is completely breaking down. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? For some reason, the creeps have been forced to reveal much, and I have effectively used what they reveal, so I believe. Remember in Apollo 13, the movie Apollo 13, Kevin Bacon, after the fake accident, he said, we're not going to make it, guys. We're screwed here. Well, how do you know? How do you know we're not going to make it? Because I can add. Kevin Bacon's because I can add. It's pretty simple. Well, I say I'm qualified because I can observe and I can apply a degree of common sense. They're giving it away. It's not my genius. But once you Sherlock Holmes this reality and strip out the mountains of bullcrap of what's unlikely, you're left with a situation that you can then take in place next to your inner knowing or inner tuning fork. And that's parts of you that are far smarter than trying to figure it out in the idiot brain.
I think you meant eliminate the impossible. You referenced Sherlock Holmes. That's eliminate the impossible.
No, I meant what I said. Saying eliminate the impossible regarding this reality, regarding the bizarre things we've seen and all the bizarre, strange things we've dabbled in over many years, to say anything's impossible in this weird place is ignorant. Okay? We've seen too much weird shit to say anything's impossible. The Mandela effect that have seen reality change in front of their eyes, sometimes in real time. So I'm not going to say impossible. I'm saying probable. Okay? We live with reality breakdowns weekly in this community that others for some reason don't observe. So nothing's impossible. So we are actually winning on both sides. As we understand more about ourselves, we then better have, through veil drops or through a different variety of means, we better understand the actions and motivations of the creeps and the minions, because everything they do is centered around getting something from us or to get us to do something to damn ourselves. But then as they take these giant bites of the yes sandwich, then we get it on the other side. Then we learn more about ourselves, and our loop continuously strengthens ourselves in this cycle. Now, I shouldn't even be addressing this at this point. This is second grade stuff we left a long time ago, but just why not? People that say, well, yeah, there's an evil force here, the motivations of the minions. People that say, though, it's about those first grade things we used to talk about, whether it be whatever they do is about money or about power And those types of things is what motivates the minions and the reality itself to do certain things. No, that's first grade nonsense. Okay? You got to get into things like spiritual battle for the soul, really very, very high level things. The stakes could not be higher. It's not about money and power. You know, if they can get researchers, though, to think that the terminus of everything, the terminus of all their actions is about those simple pedestrian things, it hides the real intentions. Money and power is what Tony Montana wanted as Scarface, someone at that level. That's a few thousand rungs below Dick Cheney and a few 100,000 rungs below the people that are getting served by Jared with his tea and coffee set. You know, so that don't ever think that the ultimate creeps are going to act like Tony Montana. And just for those, you remember the scene? We're Tony Montana now. We're pissed. And Frank's the reality, or the minions trying to pull off what they're trying to pull off out their window, this crazy thing in the world. We're Tony Montana. Remember that scene? He says, Frank, you a hossa, Frank. That's a pig that don't fly straight. Wait a second, Tony. I didn't do anything. I didn't hire the Diaz brothers. Mel, do something. It's your bed. You got to sleep in it, Frank. You fucked up too, Mel. It's always better to laugh at it than to cry over it, but I'm not just saying this to make myself feel better. I wouldn't go back from where we are, and at the most important levels, we are winning in terms of finally making the transition on understanding what we need to do for ourselves. I wouldn't go back. You wouldn't go back to the old world, Matt, if you could make it? No, I wouldn't. With that being said, here's the latest summary of my understanding as to what the heck is going on. Not with the C thing, much, much higher level. That's just one strategy and tactic in the Creeps playbook. Much, much higher, 50,000 feet looking down. And you can't do this enough. And I probably did it just about a month ago, but we're learning so much daily that you got to keep doing it and keep getting it, refining it. And then it gets shorter and shorter. And eventually the understanding, once everybody understands all the parts that I continue to explain here, but once people have an understanding of that, it will eventually shrink down to a half page. Okay, regarding this life, you chose to come here, or an aspect of yourself chose to come here. Another part of you, or what people call higher self, knows you're here. What you think is all of you here is just one aspect of you. The reality here, though, working through its minions, they want you to believe that what you look down on or what you look in the mirror, that's all you are. That it works real hard to get you to think that. You have to understand, this is one aspect. You're more than this. The entire reality, through its society, systems, and minions, works overtime, getting real people to believe that whatever you look in the mirror at, that's all you are. This is probably 99% of everything right here. The physical reality is derived from consciousness. Let me say that again. The physical reality is derived from consciousness. Well, explain exactly how that works. I can't. But it means that consciousness came first before anything physical. This means the concept of a Big Bang, for example, is absurd. A fish climbing out of the ocean to live up on the land at some point is absurd. Oh, it looks like there's some food out there. You guys want to climb out of the ocean? Yeah, let's go up and get the food. Well, there's no food up here. They would have gone back down and never gotten up again. I love that. I love going through that ridiculous exercise. It's a degree of common sense that kills Darwin in 5 seconds that nobody can see except us. It's just bizarre. Anyway, there's no food up here. Well, let's go back down to the ocean for a few billion years. Nobody would have ever got out. The moon being something up there that some jerk can land on is absurd. Now, this list could go on for hundreds of pages, if not thousands of pages. The people here have done the research. That research has brought us to a certain place, a certain understanding. Once you step onto that platform of a certain understanding, then the details don't matter anymore. Matt, here's a great video. What happened to the side of the Pentagon? I don't care. I have a certain understanding of how everything is a fake presentation. I don't need the details anymore. See? We move on. Authority's presentation of everything important is some form of trick or deception. authority's presentation or a presentation through a minion of everything important in this reality is some sort of deception or trick, basically without exception.
What you mean, everything important? Everything important is a trick? What you mean by that?
I didn't stutter, you idiot. Everything means everything. Throw a dart. Oh, what's that topic? It's a trick and a deception. Everything means everything.
Well, come on, if that's the case, how could they have possibly pulled the wool over so many people's eyes? And where are you going with this? The authority figures, those presenting the way the world works, people, scientists like Stephen Hawking, they're all in on the deception?
No, not at all. Almost all of these minions, the authority figures, those in positions of power, they believe exactly in what they're doing and believe in it wholeheartedly. They completely believe in the bogus theories that they put forth. They're not knowingly trying to trick anyone. That's the evil genius of how the system works. Now, here's my best advice to someone in our community who is not old guard. Anybody relatively new here? Not many, but listen up. Save yourself at least 5 years by saying this: who cares? After somebody asks you to look into the details of how everything actually works, how they pull this trick off, the elements of who, what, when, where, why, and how. Why can sometimes be very important, but the other elements, who, what, where, when, and how, forget it. Waste of time. Save yourself 5 to 10 years.
No, man, I'm not going to buy it unless you tell me how that was pulled off, how it works, the how. No planes. What? No planes? How could they have pulled that off? Come on, man, that's impossible. Now I need to know the who. I need to know the who, man. Not who are you, the who. Like Dick Cheney, for example, man. Dick Cheney. I know he was George Bush's handler, that little puppet. But who did he report to, Matt? You got to bring that to me, Matt. I'm not buying what you're saying here. Who did Dick Cheney report to? I need to know, man. Take me to the last page of the book. Okay, I'll give you the Philadelphia City Hall looks like an alien structure in the middle of a city. Nothing around it's even closely like. Well, I need to know the when, man. When was it built then? You got to tell me this, or I'm not going to buy the rest of it. So when was it built? All these smart people over here talking about Atlantis and Lemuria and all these places. Well, where? I need to know exactly where Atlantis was. I know it ain't there now. I know if I take a flight over there, it ain't going to be there now. But where was it? I need to know that, all right? Take me to the last page of the story. I'm starting to get a sense that people like Melvin P. Gates are not like me. I know, but you got to tell me, maybe, what is it then? What is Melvin P. Gates? I got to know what it is, or I'm not going to be able to follow you for the rest of your presentation.
Regarding the no planes, you asked me how they did it. My answer is, who cares? We'll never know. This is how the reality does business. It wants you farming there for the rest of your life. You asked me who Dick Cheney reported to, the who? My answer is, who cares? You asked me, when was Philadelphia City Hall built then? When? My answer is, who cares? The reality can play its tricks even on the physical level, even on the building construction level, even on the level of the Great Pyramid, even on the level of the shape of the earth. The reality plays its tricks at all levels. Do we see that yet? You asked me about the where is Atlantis. My answer is, who cares where it was? You asked me, what is Melvin P. Gates? My answer is, who cares? The why is the only thing that's worth looking at, and that's only if we apply it to understanding ourselves. But this is where we bring in the advice of a wise little girl. A viral video, I'll link to at the bottom, that may have gone viral for this reason. It could be a giant truth drop. It says, worry about yourself. See, we're not here to learn the who, what, when, where, why, and how, and to wake this person up and all this stuff outside of us on the screen. She says, you worry about yourself. I don't like the term worry, but that's the way she presents it. Maybe that there has to be, if the screen is making something go viral, there has to be something, there's a truth embedded in a deception or something that they want to push. We don't worry about anything, that we don't have a frequency or harmonic that takes in worry. She says, worry about yourself. She says, worry about yourself. Yeah, don't care what happened to the side of the Pentagon. You're here for a very short period of time in this life. Worry about yourself. Take care of yourself and your spiritual journey here. You worry about yourself. We don't know what the earth is. Nobody does. Nobody knows exactly what the earth is or exactly what shape it is. Again, it's mostly derived from consciousness. How exactly does that work? We don't know. It doesn't matter for your personal journey. For those who investigate shape, even hollow, there's a lot of different possibilities between round and flat. There's toroidal, hollow, there's a lot of different things people research. The trickster here will show each group of researchers information that supports their position while doing the same for the other camps, which is a contradiction and should be impossible, but that's what the reality does. It pulls it off. That by itself, we should be enough to say something, this reality isn't very real. By itself, there's examples where by itself you can come to that conclusion. And we've been doing this how long? Almost 10 years? And half of this community still thinks everything's completely real. I mean, how? There are different types of people here, for lack of better words. There are different types of people here. You know, it's better, I guess, to say different types of incarnations. Things like George Bush and Governor Newsom and Ellen and the Queen and Lady Gaga. Whatever they are, it's not the same as you and me.
What you mean, Kemosabe, they're not the same as you and me? You got to explain that. If you can't explain that, I'm not going to listen to the rest of your presentation.
Okay, I'm not going to do this again. I've done this enough. The point's clear. Obviously, I can't explain it. No one will ever be able to explain it. It might be fun to ponder it from time to time, but the reality wants you on a farm trying to figure out, that's an Archon. No, that's an Anunnaki. No, it doesn't matter. It's all of this stuff is outside yourself. Remember, take care of yourself. It's a truth drop. You take care of yourself. Mind yourself. Even if you spent the rest of your life and you actually did figure out exactly what, George Soros is. One of these things is not like the other. He's different. And you spent your whole life, what do I get? You don't get nothing for it, even if you figure it out. You don't get points down here. That's not the guy that's looking for the perfect blossom and spending an entire life looking for the perfect blossom is much more valid than trying to figure out what George Soros is. You don't get points for that in this game. You a loser if you spend your whole life trying to figure out the who, what, when, where, why, and how.
Okay, man, I get it. Don't say it again. I understand where you're coming from. But then, is any question I could ever ask legitimate? Are you going to jump all over me with the who cares every time? Is any question legitimate? You know, can I go to the bathroom? Well, who cares? You just going to hit me with who cares all the time?
Okay, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. A few questions, some questions are valid. Just a few. In terms of trying to figure out this reality and all the nasty things it serves up on all its millions and millions of dishes. You know, trying to answer most of them waste decades, but okay, the why. Or for something like these minions, what do they want from me? All that they do, all the tricks that they play over all time, all the millions of things they do and pull off in schemes. What do they want from me? You know, what do these creeps want? Why did they do it is related. That is important from time to time to look at. Okay, related to that, it's nothing worth spending a lifetime on, but we have to have a basic understanding for anybody new here of if they're looking to get something from me, like who are they? You have to look a little bit there to get to the why or to support the why. You know, it's a kind of who cares, but we need to spend a minute. Okay, you've heard me talk about minions of reality. The minions of this reality, the minions that work for the reality, are akin to, say, what the flying monkeys are to the witch. It's a good parallel. Witch in The Wizard of Oz, with the emerald green colored skin. Fly, fly, my pretties. My pretties is now gone per the Mandela effect, but fly, fly, flying monkeys work for the witch. Minions work for the overarching reality. All right? They're akin to the flying monkeys. The role of these minions here is to carry out the goal of reality itself. We'll get to that. People are like, what the hell is he talking about? We'll get to that. The minions act as the reality itself's on-the-ground operators, the blocking and the tackling. You know, just as a general puts forth strategy and tactics based on the will of some asshole in the back room, you know, general is there because many generals are on the battlefield implementing strategies and tactics to implement ultimately what the asshole king or the asshole president back, you know, at the upper level of the pyramid wants, back in his posh place, giving the orders. He's not close to the death. He's not close to the battle. So minions, they're at the highest level, and they go all the way down to your basic level, people that have no idea of what's going on that are just a cog or a tiny little pawn in society itself. Even at a higher level, though, and Ellen, for example. Ellen. You know Ellen, the degenerate? She's got a TV show, but it's not just for fun. It's just not friendly entertainment. All minions serve the goal of the overarching reality. The Ellen Show is just one tiny little grain of sand on a gigantic perverted beach. Minions carry out the will of the reality itself. Comes in 1,000 different forms. Politician, president, celebrity, movie producer, rock and roll musician. The catch-all is almost anybody that you see on television or is pushed forth as a star or an authority figure is in some way a minion. But you can go all the way down to the lowest of levels. A finance professor at a big university that tells you how wonderful capitalism is. It tells you about the stock market and how to invest. And that's a minion. That's a minion. There's no real evil there, but it's absolutely, or that person would be absolutely carrying out the wishes of what the overhanging reality would want to prop up its systems. There's no evil. They're not trying to screw the students, but they are acting as a minion. It doesn't always mean evil, and it almost never means that they understand what they're doing. Very, 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 very few understand the role that they're playing to serve the, quote, master system. The goal of the reality above the minions is to move a human being away from its correct spiritual path. Okay, the role of the overarching reality, it uses its minions and its generals and everybody that puts its face on TV. Its goal is very simple, to move real spirited human beings away from the correct spiritual path. But this is done in such a way so a certain subgroup, you and I, a certain subgroup are actually aided and are actually helped by the actions of the minions on behalf of the overarching reality. It aids us or a subgroup to find the right path. So the actions of the creeps actually benefit a certain group while screwing another group or screwing a larger group. Now, I'm not suggesting we all go call 1-800-FLOWERS and send flowers to these a-holes if we benefit in many ways, which we absolutely are now, but it is what it is. I have to pause. Some people are really struggling. What do you mean overarching reality itself, talking about it like it's a real thing or it's alive in some way? We don't know, guys. We of course, we don't know what's in the last final room or what's at the terminus. We don't know. But this is just the only way we can describe it. A Christian would call it Satan. We don't know. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. As long as you see what it wants from you. That's all that matters. The police line of exercise is useless. And yes, it's up to you, or your group will collectively make a decision to decide to benefit from it. It's up to you if you're going to use it to benefit from the actions of the creeps. Okay? But you know, I don't like what's going on out our window. It's horrible. I watched those shows, New Year's Eve countdowns and everything. It was so dark. It was horrible. But you have a choice as to how you want to see it. I mean, every time I'm disturbed by something, like I was incredibly disturbed watching those shows and the countdown to the ball dropping event. Even somebody pointed out to me, man, just the connotation of drop the ball. That's negative, man. It is. It's all negative. It's all energy sucking. What's happening out our window is like nothing even we in this community could have ever imagined. It's so horrible. It's so dark, but I choose not to see it that way. And it's not just wishful thinking. We absolutely can use this darkness to understand more about ourselves, to put our spiritual journey on turbo boost times a million. It's not just making myself feel better, or I'm going to tell you what I think you want to hear to make yourself feel better. The yin and yang is real. If they're going to do this, tell yourself right now, every morning when you get up, you should have a little object anyway and go through a little morning ritual. That if they're going to do this, I will benefit. I must benefit. That's the rules here. I demand to benefit from it if they're going to do this, right? This reality is not, this ain't the golden age. You know, we might have been in the golden age at some time, just sit under a beautiful tree, get jerked off all day under the tree. Maybe we went through that. This ain't it. This ain't the golden age. This is hard, man. It's hard, and it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be an absolute massive trial. So if you win, man, it's going to feel good in the end. Don't take this. People interpret what's going on at our windows so negatively. Take it and put it into the right light. In some way we don't understand, the creeps, the minions, were put here in this reality to be creeps, to play a role, okay, to play a role, a necessary role for your betterment. I don't like what's going on. See it the right way. A person and they don't even, most of these minions don't know what's going on. They're role players. They're not all powerful. They pull some buttons and levers, and they're surprised at how most of the world's just going along with all the bullcrap that they put forth. But a person like George Bush probably has very little understanding of the grand role of being a creep, or maybe none. Okay, maybe we're giving him too much credit. Whoever designed their role. Maybe you designed their role, or another aspect of you. Whatever designed their role, or God, you, whatever. It's way above these creeps. They're just role players, all right? Their job is to try to take as big a bites of the shit sandwich as possible, and to put roadblocks up as much as possible, and to do certain things, but it benefits the journey of some, and that some is you and I. If your neighbor is just going to ignore all the clues it puts forth, well, again, take care of yourself. You're here for yourself, not your neighbor or your sister. The way to see this is just to go back to the beginning of most of our journeys. There's a few that have been doing this a long time. That's rare. I mean, a long, long time. Question: what would you be without the 7-Eleven as a part-time job event? What would you be? If none of that happened, reality just petered on, big corporations, just meaningless everything. Where would you be? I'll tell you where I'd be without that wake up. I'd probably still be comparing car leases. Oh, let's look at the car lease. Oh, $400 a month? Let's be comparing car leases, working for a big corporation, laying out maybe algorithmic strategies to determine if the more expensive car lease can be worked into a speed dating conversation that will lead to more sex acts. Oh, isn't that grand fulfillment? I'm in a way glad they did 7-Eleven as a part-time job and offered all of us the part-time job of actually studying reality. We spent the first 5 to 10 years figuring out reality, and only recently are we saying, well, wait a second, that's pointless. We need to use all that and apply it to ourselves. So to a select group, us, very small and select group, the a-holes and the creeps handed us a nonstop ticket to exit the Monopoly board. Hey, thanks, creeps. Thanks a lot, creeps.
Yeah, I understand, but so many people I care about, all these people around me are all falling for this deception. I'm starting to see this deception. They're all falling for it. What am I going to do about that?
Nothing. Yeah, all the people around us are falling for every level of deception. So what? What about yourself? You're here to take care of yourself. What would you rather have? Spiritual advancement that affects the essence of who you are and potentially affects all you ever were and all you ever will be? Would you rather have that? Or would you rather have indoor dining? People around us know what we're all about at this point. They'll make inquiries if they're interested. They'll, once every 40,000 years, ask a question. If that happens, then we'll go out of our way to do anything we can. Other than that, take care of yourself. Stop trying to push your religion, this truth of religion, down everybody's throat. We're done with that. The most basic definition of spirituality is simply realizing that you're more than your current existence. There's more to it, but at the basic level, just realizing you're more than your current existence. You're more than whatever's in the body or in the snow globe. You just seeing the basics that they try to hide from all of us. You existed before this place. You'll exist after. At least you'll exist after if you believe that. It wants to get everybody to believe certain things and shut down, certain things. So then you trap yourself. That's basically, if you struggle, all you need to know about spirituality. You're more than this. Okay. This world and its minions are out to rob all of us of that more expansive sense of self. It never wants you to understand who you really are And then it wants you to substitute their BS for real meaning. It wants you to substitute their endless pile of shat that they place in your hand and materialism and worthless pursuits. They want all that, all the stuff of this world and this dream reality to substitute real meaning and real understanding about yourself. And most people think what the reality offers is a fine substitute. Like an NFL running back on his deathbed, thinking he really did something special in life because he won the rushing title in 1987. Oh, die with a smile because he won the rushing title in 1987. And apply rushing title to 1,000 or 1,000,000 other things. If the society has given someone an award, a Nobel Prize, a Pulitzer Prize, or taken them to the top, maybe there are a few exceptions. I'm talking broad brush. And society's pushed them to the top. A Journalism of the Year award. If society's given them all sorts of medals and awards and clapping, oh, yay, accolades, then you know what? That person, you're a loser. You're a loser. Society, the Matrix trying to take you out. Maybe you're doing something right. It's just the opposite, of course. Everything's here 179 and in degrees half-ass backwards. You know, a real spiritual being wouldn't give a squirt of piss for a rushing title or a Nobel Prize or anything this system wants to pin on your chest. A real spiritual being or wouldn't give a crap about any false metric of success that this place offers up like a maggot-covered brownie. All right, generally you know what I'm saying. There's a few exceptions. If you're a Stanford University swimmer that went into the Olympics in your sophomore year and won a gold medal in the 400 butterfly or whatever, the gold medal, that's not going to damn you to hell. I'm not saying that, just without knowing any better, just went to represent your country, whatever, swimming event and a sport that you like. And I'm not saying that, but you understand. You understand what I'm saying. If you... you go actively seek out the awards that the Sikh society puts forth and the measurement of what's considered success, in that case, you are doing yourself in. After all the nonsense and reality breakdowns and all the stuff that we could never have imagined since 7-Eleven offered its part-time jobs, all they've pulled since, at this point, for those that have dropped even a few veils, the correct path for a real spirited being to use this reality for its betterment, the correct path is now almost obvious. Like most of you were saying, of course, if you get an award for Journalist of the Year, that's a negative. I mean, of course, it's obvious the clear path at this point. To recognize the true nature of yourself is the obvious path. And to use whatever tools this place affords. Like there's 1,000,000 tools here to benefit yourself in these ways, to benefit your collective whole, with the body just being a tiny part of your collective whole. The job of the overarching reality is to try to implement the opposite belief set in real people. Basically that your home, your car, your ripped abs, your bundling of home and auto with flow, that's all you are. That's the greatest things in life, and that's all you'll ever be. Remember Derek, the Step Brothers, the movie Step Brothers, the comedy. Derek, his brother, shows up and he pulls up his shirt. He's got ripped abs. He's like, I haven't had a carb in 2 years, man. You want to touch these, don't you? Derek is the embodiment of the wrong path. But Derek in the movie Step Brothers represents, to a degree, most people. Okay? Now, the reality screams what the path should be at us. It does not whisper, and most people follow along blindly behind the Pied Piper off to their spiritual death. If, for example, a Berkeley atheist doesn't believe they are greater than the part that they currently look at in the mirror, that there's nothing more to them than what resides inside the snow globe, that's the belief of one particular Berkeley atheist that likes putting their degrees up on the wall, well, at least with that person, the reality has won that game. That's not a win for the reality. Because the viewpoints of the Berkeley atheist may change and adapt over time, just not what they're going to be. At this moment, they could change going forward. It's unlikely because liberalism is a mental disorder, but it could change. People could come around, see the truth. Because of that, and reality knows that, the reality itself has engineered the base level of reality to be thousands of tricks and probably millions of distractions of which thousands will hit the Berkeley Atheist all day long for the entirety of the person's life, so they never even think to go off the current belief set that's been fixed into them. Oh, we've got this person. Now let's hit them with 1,000 distractions so they never, ever have the time to explore what's really true in this world. The ultimate kindergarten level, lowest level, blocking and tackling distraction for this reality, but it's the go-to of this reality, and it works time after time, and they love every bit of it, and all the minions behind this reality, is the distraction of distraction, the distraction of distraction, the complexity artificially engineered in people's lives. Now, I've told you about, and this could be the shrinking of time, and we don't know enough. I don't know enough to go there. It doesn't seem like there's enough time to get stuff done. I'll just tell you about myself. What about yourself? I'll tell you about myself. There are 4 cats here, and they're very difficult, but that ain't that much to do. Okay, I don't have to drive 3 kids to cello practice and this and that, and big family gatherings and this and that, and I got a bunch of sticks blew into the driveway. Got to pick them up. That takes an hour. But all of a sudden, like the day's gone. I'm like, well, I don't have time to do anything. But it's just, how's that? I should have lots of time. So a compression of time, maybe, but the whole reality is engineered on everybody just to keep them running from thing to thing to thing. The worries or the anxieties that people have in their lives, if they have a house and a family and a dog, I postulate almost half of that could have been eliminated if good people were working to make people's lives easier. In the same way, email appears to be, oh, wow, isn't this great? All it did was add hundreds and hundreds per year of extra hours of work onto people's already busy schedule. I don't forget the details, guys. The reality engineers this somehow. If anybody had quiet moments, this is where you come to certain revelations about yourself, about the nature of reality. If anybody ever could have their 7 years in Tibet, they come out. By the way, I don't remember that movie, but I remember it being, with Brad Pitt, being absolutely awful. So bad that even though I forget every scene, I'll never want to revisit. I just remember it being one of the worst movies of all time, and that's enough where I'll never watch it again. So I'm certainly not recommending it. But if you had your 7 years in Tibet moment, there's a lot of free time probably you can find yourself. So the reality's engineered so there isn't enough time in the day. It's an evil genius beyond anything any normal human being can pull off. Think of this. Probably, I don't know, conservatively, about 100 million people have taken their last breath in a hospital. Like, I don't know, over the last 20, 30 years, whatever. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's just a lot of people have taken their last breath in a hospital bed for whatever reason. And during that time, they've had CNN or Fox News on in their room, right to the last breath. It's like Maxwell House, right to the last drop, good to the last drop. CNN or Fox News blaring right to their last breath. Hundreds of millions, they're trying to take in the last bit of information about society or something instead of finding themselves. I mean, these dead should be very proud of themselves. These dead certainly were very well versed on what the Republicans' plan will be in the midterm election as they expelled their last little bit of CO2. So that's just a small drop of the ignorance that we see all around us. But what does that level of ignorance, people that are just a breath away from dying, they've got Fox News on in the room, what is that level of ignorance and following that degree of deception their entire lives, what does that potentially do to their spiritual nature if they had it to begin with and they weren't just an NPC? Was the most important part of them, is it still there? Do they give pieces of themselves away? I mean, we hope it will always be there and this reality can't take it or steal it. We would hope that for everybody. We wouldn't wish that on anybody, that hopefully this reality can't get to those important spiritual parts of people that just go through this reality blind. But again, we'll never know. I'm not going to say who cares about this one, but we'll never know. And it's, again, worry about yourself. Worry about yourself. I'm not going to take any chances. I'm going to do the work now. Some people would say, this reality cannot take who you are, can't steal your soul, can't destroy your spirit, can't send your spirit into the abyss, can't get to your higher self. I hope that's the case. I'm not taking any chances. I'm going to apply whatever I can now, assuming that may be the case. I'm going to apply these earthly tools and lessons as much as I can daily. I'm not going to take any chances. That does not include trying to wake up my cousins. Okay? If your sister comes to you at some point, like I mentioned, with questions or opens the door a bit, of course, you should do everything you can to help if that person initiates. With a reality that is essentially broken down as an insane bozo show with evil, what else are you going to call it, with evil bubbling over the sides of its reality cauldron, our knee-jerk reaction, our reaction, seems to be to look around and go, oh, no, we're losing or we lost. That's the knee-jerk reaction of a lot in this community. And based on what's going on our window, I can see why some people, have that knee-jerk reaction. But this is incorrect for several reasons. All right? Ultimately, and I don't even have it listed in here in what I'm going through, but ultimately, you as a powerful being, how you interpret it, how you see it for yourself, your intentions for yourself is basically what is or what will be upon the day of our life. But that's I'm not even going there. It's incorrect saying we lost or whatever based on what's happening out our window for a lot of reasons. If you back up far enough away from myopic negative viewpoints, it may be clear to somebody looking in, if they're looking down from far enough away, it may be clear to them that we've won or we're completely winning. At least this group is. You and me are, if we understand certain things about ourselves and put things in a certain perspective or light. It's all how you see things. Again, do you want spiritual fulfillment on turbo boost, or do you want indoor dining again? We just have outdoor dining in 20-degree weather. Do you see, I got to take a shower, that sucks? Or do you is a shower the most incredible thing that ever happened to you? And do you realize that 99% of kings and queens never experienced anything like that? It's all your perception. Now, if you back far enough up away from this reality bozo show and the absurdities on the news, all of this is actually a good thing. Our reality absurdity list, of course, as we've said, is at least 100 pages long, right? Let's flip a page. Reality Absurdity List book here. It's this thick-ass book. Oh, what's here? Oh, it says the first guy in the UK to get the Jackson. It says his name's William Shakespeare. I mean, okay. We don't need to go through the Reality Absurdity List. That would take 1,000 lifetimes. William Shakespeare, the first guy to get the Jackson. Yeah. That's like a champion hot dog speed eating person. They eat the hot dogs against others in a big hot dog eating competition. That's like the guy that won hailing from the town of Sandwich. I mean, come on. It's absurd. Reality's broken down across the board. We don't need to see anymore. But William Shakespeare is a reality absurdity that the average Joe, the average Joe and Vince Vaughn's volleyball team, they just think that's just another coincidence. They haven't put all the absurdities together to form a new picture of what reality is or is not. It's just another coincidence to the guy down your cul-de-sac, where we say, no, it's not, because we've seen too many of these. We've cataloged and tracked the reality absurdity list. It's longer than the biggest roll of toilet paper that exists in the Guinness Book of World Record, our reality absurdity list. And when you put the probabilities together of how all that could possibly happen, you easily surpass 1 in a trillion. 1 in a trillion as a chance or a probability is impossible in a regular, real, organic reality. Because reality ain't that real. Again, I'm saying a reality that has now turned into a literal bozo show is probably a good thing from our perspective for a few reasons. Now, at the basic level, it's impossible for us not to see right through it. Once it becomes a bozo show, then, anybody that's dropped even a few veils will see right through it. And it's through its actions that we have learned about ourselves. There are a lot of possibilities why it could be a very, very good thing, a reality bozo show. Maybe there's more of us here than we think. And the reality is in some sort of glitch mode or overreacting. It's glitching out, trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube, keeps trying to turn up its dial on what it thinks it has to deliver to combat the fact that we're finding out, maybe from its perspective, more than we should. It simply appears absurd more and more because it's trying too hard, potentially, to put the toothpaste back in the tube. Gets into a whole host of strange theories we have fun talking about that I don't put too much stock in, but it's always fun to keep on the table, that the reason these ancient civilizations, they didn't leave a calling card, they didn't sign their name. They built the Great Pyramids, but they didn't put a little hieroglyphic as to who they were, when they were, try to communicate with the future as to the nature of their community or their culture. All these ancient cultures just completely morphed away. They're just zapped out of here, just flashed out of here. Maybe they won, maybe they lost, but maybe at some point it's like they got to a certain level and they just poof, morphed out of here, leaving their buildings and their megalithic structures behind. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities, but reality is glitching out and becoming a bozo show. Well, are you glitching out? Are you freaking out? Or are you staying stable? And The Rock, let it go down the tubes. You stay stable. You win. On the other hand, reality is a reflection of collective consciousness to a degree. And that means a reality that's dumber than the last scene of Ghostbusters and becoming a literal bozo show. That doesn't seem at first like a very good thing if it's a reflection of collective consciousness, because the reality getting uglier and uglier is just a reflection of consciousness or collective consciousness getting uglier and uglier. So absurdity combined with, say, no new outstanding art, no great works of art, no great movies, no great music anymore, all the stuff that we saw the reality could deliver in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, all of that is just void now. Like, we've got hundreds of millions of people just hoping that Wonder Woman 1984 will be good because there's nothing else that can be produced of any quality since Game of Thrones. So Matt, if that's a reflection of collective consciousness, that's bad, right? Well, it's bad and it's good. It depends how you look at it. It kind of sucks. There's no good art, and that's the debauchery we see on the screen is a reflection of consciousness. It kind of sucks, but you and me, we're not representative of collective consciousness. We're kind of part of the masses. I don't like what the collective consciousness is producing. I don't like it if the collective consciousness one day takes RuPaul's Drag Race to the #1 show in America, but I don't see myself as part of it. I continuously remind myself, okay, that's the #1 show or The Bachelorette or whatever. I didn't create that. That's not my reflection. I'm separate from that. That's too bad, and I wish I could wake everybody up around me so they don't reflect that, but that's not part of me. Take care of yourself, okay? You're not part of it. Don't see yourself as part of it. If the masses want to create and reflect back that reality, well, that's on them, okay? I'm not part of that. If reality itself has morphed into the bozo show, or another example or analogy I used many months ago, has morphed into a headless cab driver, reality has morphed into a headless cab driver, why do you care if your best friend just climbs into the back of the cab with the headless cab driver and instructs the headless body?
Yeah, we're going to 42nd and Broadway. 42nd and Broadway, please. And there's an extra $10 in it for you if you get us there in under 10 minutes. This means there's no time to look for your head. Step on it, sir.
It's not your job to convince your friend that it's not typical for a cab driver to be driving around New York City without a head. That's not, if he sees that as completely acceptable, reality has morphed itself into a new frequency. He's going along with the frequency. The headless cab company always has been, always will be, like a Mandela effect, and it's completely normal. Well, then let it alone. But you can try to use the experience, however strange it is, to benefit yourself. The reality uses its army of minions to shape collective consciousness, which shapes reality and then just feeds a loop that feeds back on itself. And again, a minion is a lot of different types of things. A president, a CEO, governor, celebrity, college professor. They're not evil. They're not knowing exactly how they're doing the bidding of the system. Most of these people aren't in on anything. 99% are not in on anything. A congressman, all sorts of bureaucrats in government, all minions, of course. Almost nobody is in on it, and almost nobody understands the biggest picture or the bigger picture that they're inside of. A college professor may teach Darwin's philosophies with vigor and believe every bit of it. That's just a minion. Not trying to screw the class. A minion simply serves the greater system in a way where the system itself benefits through the actions or the beliefs of the minion. In almost all cases, the person making the decision to do a certain thing or act a certain way or to push forth a certain belief set for the system thinks they're serving the greater good. The minion, for the most part, is the opposite of in on it. And the minion is usually more fooled than anybody. Most celebrities, for example, believe in their dumb Daryl Hannah causes. My local news anchor, I've talked about him 10 times, Jim Gardner, Action News, ABC. I'm sure he believes 100%. For 40 years, he's helped people and helped humanity by reporting every night on West Oak Lane fires and North Philadelphia shootings. He's just helped humanity. I'm sure he believes in all the good he's done. I think only certain higher ups kind of get a sense as to what's going on, but not a sense of the whole reality. Just inside their own little bucket, they see how the fraud is presented. They only understand their little bucket. We still give them too much credit. Like a Melvin P. Gates of the Melvin and Belinda Gates Foundation, Melvin P. He understands that his charitable monies are passed around back and forth between groups that really don't need it. He understands that. But does he understand all the different things that we ponder and all the fake events? No. He's a role player. In my opinion, no. Do I know that? No. Have I had coffee with him? No. Is it even possible anybody normal like us could have coffee with a Melvin Gates? I don't, but I'm just getting this is the sense I get, guys. Other minions like Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh realizes there's no such thing as R versus D, and it's all a big show. But he understands his little bucket, but Rush Limbaugh has no understanding, in my opinion, of how reality, the greater reality, works outside of his little bucket or outside of his little area of influence. I think we understand, in a greater sense, a lot more than these minions that you would consider pretty high level. Now, you get into bloodlines and stuff. Of course, they understand the reality buttons and levers more than we just dabble in it. But I'm saying, don't give a guy like Melvin P. too much credit. This is just a role player, man. He's a clown. Look at the role he's playing now. The minions, on behalf of overarching reality, are out to influence real people of spirit to shape and create the world that they want and likely they need to probably survive. So like when the Borg invaded the Enterprise, Star Trek, the Borg started to take certain parts of the ship over, or certain parts of the ship in the Federation. First thing they did is take over the environmental controls, turn the settings, the heat goes a little bit up, the humidity levels. They turned it into what makes them comfortable. People speculate about these trails. They're terraforming into what they want. I don't know, maybe, but I'm not going to take that off the table. But they're going to shape reality in every crazy button and lever they have access to make it into what they want. But they need real human beings of spirit and consciousness to do that. The minions use real spirited beings to basically accomplish everything they want. There's very few things they can do directly, in my opinion. But that's through observation, and I think it's pretty accurate. They need us. In 99 a real high percentage of these minions running around, they're not in on it. And most don't even know how they're serving the bubbling over cauldron. They don't even realize it. I mean, that is the evil genius of the system. I don't want to give it any credit, but you know what I mean? But again, if you realize this, I mean, this means that all this stuff we did in the truth community talking about predictive programming, Peter Stuyvesant commercials. Well, that's to me a great example of like a retrocausality. But predictive programming, it's not what we thought it was for the most part. It's not just men and women making phone calls and saying, make sure this is inserted and that is inserted. It's reality works in a lot of mysterious ways. There are potentially retrocausalities, and there are minions and people that serve the system without having any idea how they're serving the system. That's how most of the predictive programming gets in there. Not that somebody made a phone call. I mean, what a dumb, first grade explanation. That's what we all thought, but we got to expand our horizons a bit. At least when we talk about retrocausalities, things that are there in media forms of the past simply because of the major current event or the future event, we might be wrong about a lot of that, but at least it's big thinking. At least we're thinking way outside the confines of the box that they want us thinking in. All right? We have hundreds of examples now that prove it's much more than just men and women making phone calls, putting all the predictive stuff in. And how many, if we had to catalog all the predictive stuff, thousands probably at this point. If we had to catalog everything, probably in the thousands. You know, if everything we've ever passed over that could be considered predictive programming of what society is being morphed into or what should be. Just watched Colony a couple weeks ago, the movie Colony. I think here's Lawrence Fishburne again in a role in a movie that has a very predictive nature in reality. Lawrence Fishburne plays these roles. Keanu Reeves play these roles, repeating themes for certain actors. The Colony, I forget the actor that played Chet in Weird Science. He comes out with the Colony. If somebody gets sick, they have to be put out because they could spread it. He comes out with a homemade cloth face covering, all, like really, like, okay, we've seen this. The person that sent that to me was like really, really shocked by it. And I kind of said to the person that sent it to me, I said, I don't like, it is shocking, but I've been looking at this for so long. Like, am I surprised? No, that's just the way, it's just the way whatever it is, does business. It's just another one on a long list of how the predictive nature of what's coming needs to be served up. However, and again, it gets back to who cares? What's the exact mechanism on how that's served up? Who cares? What does that tell you about yourself? Izzo's most recent example is applicable here. He was telling me about a video game where it was actually played with little figurines, I think, in dice before they made it into a video game. I think Warhammer 40,000. I don't know anything about it. But he's saying, Matt, the themes of Warhammer 40,000, and on their chests they have the double-headed eagle, which is like the phoenix. Very, you could trace that back hundreds of years in the occult and the secret societies. And he's saying, but the point is, he's saying, Matt, some might say, well, that's just predictive programming. But he said, no, I've met the people that put the game together. He says, I've met them all. He says, I assure you, they're just these geeks, these nerds, these gamer types. They're not in on it. They're not bloodlines. They're not getting calls from the creepy bat phone and told to make sure you insert the double-headed eagle facing different directions to carry the crest of this bloodline through in your video. They're not. He's like, they're not getting phone calls, but they're all the predictive programming is in Warhammer 4000. And he's like, there's no way they're in on it. They're just like regular guys in T-shirts and somebody saying, we'd be surprised who they're connected to. No, we've seen this too much. There'd be, the game Deus Ex, the year 2000, right before the 7-Eleven thing, Deus Ex, one of the biggest video games of the year 2000. I don't think it was 99. It left out the WTC. Didn't put in the WTC and the skyline of Manhattan, and the entire game of Deus Ex is about how the Illuminati pulling strings. The close of the game is a big speech on Illuminati. And okay, maybe that one case somebody made a phone call, but it's just happened too much. And again, Izzo's saying, I met these guys. He goes, they're not connected to anybody. But how does all the predictive stuff and the occult stuff and the esoteric stuff and the stuff related to secret societies, how does it get in these games? It is a mystery, but again, remember the theme of this video, who cares? And you have to say who cares when chasing down the information doesn't really tell you about what you need to know about yourself. The reality's most prized minion is what is called the truth community. That's you and me. You just called us a minion? Yeah. If we realize certain things and change, we can then remove that tag. But we have been, the truth community has been a minion. No group has been used, played, and manipulated more than this community. Somebody who watches The Matrix for the first time, They would see first time popcorn crunching in front of the Matrix. They just see Neo fighting back and a nice and friendly and kind Oracle helping him do that. But then you really look at it, and then that's not what happened at all. In fact, Neo made hardly any choices on his own or no choices on his own. It was manipulated at every turn, while the Oracle played and used Neo and used the One to benefit the machines and the architect. I mean, that's the second layer. It's not apparent the first time you watch it. It's not apparent to the first level truther or even the second level truther how they're being used and played and putting forth the messages exactly the way the system wants them put forth. Neo never understood how he was actually helping the machines. Now, this is the evil genius of how this reality uses the minions, including our own community. In the past, we've all been minions. Most in the truth community are still minions and will never graduate out. Hopefully, we are graduating out. Like we've talked about recently, the quote from the Michael Hoffman book, the reality and its minions know that certain things will inevitably be uncovered and come out and will be found out. The truth community is used to bring forth information, to bring it out in a certain way that benefits the reality, a certain type of disclosure. Now, this concept recently discussed, or what we're talking about right now, you easily could talk about it for hours and hours and hours. We're not going to really touch on it here, except in the relation to how the truth community has been used. Just in general, a general overview, reality establishes that reality establishes that Matt is a conspiracy theorist, or in this case, a boy who cried wolf. That's you and me. We are the boy who cried wolf, right? Now, in every circle of influence, every group of friends, or one in there seems to be like one of us who's singled out as the boy who cried wolf. And the person, I've done it myself, of course, for almost 10 years, time to graduate out. That person then reveals certain things or points at certain things or questions certain things or calls certain things conspiracy, but that person's already been labeled the boy who cries wolf. So the information flows out through the boy who has cried wolf, who's already been labeled by everybody around him as that type of person. It's evil genius. It's absolutely evil genius. So the information comes out. It doesn't go anywhere. Again, we talk hours about this revelation of the method stuff. So it doesn't matter. As smart as Matt still appears to be, Matt got all A's in school and everything, and he still appears to be the same person, but at some point he just went wrong. How do they justify that? Because I can still carry on a conversation. At some point, he just went wrong and became a conspiracy theorist. He appears to his family and friends that it's still Matt, but Matt now has a label. He's labeled, he's the boy that cried wolf about these conspiracies, and that label will be carried by us forever. So I'm not to be believed, no matter what I bring forth, no matter what the strength of my argument is. Once I have that label, I'm done. I could have the wolf in a trap, his leg in a trap. I could pull the wolf in the trap in front of everybody I know, drag it in front of my friends and family, and Matt will still be the boy who cried wolf. There's no wolf. There's no wolf. The wolf's right in front of you. I got it in a trap. Well, there's no wolf. It's an amazing, the reality buttons and levers they pull to have achieved this is truly fascinating. But ultimately, the over-pondering of it is who cares? It's nothing to do with finding out about yourself. I don't think, in general, the playing ground has been very fair. It's just, again, do I have reality and buttons and levers that Matt has access to? No. I'm just working with what I have at my disposal, which is very limited. So if the playing ground was fair, I don't think we could have been used the way we've been used. Okay? I would have been able to, through the strength of a sound argument and pointing out common sense, I would have been able to show people around me the bozo show. It's not a stretch. It is a bozo show. And since it is a bozo show, the people in our lives finally would have been able to see the clown. Like those paintings, it's all blotches and stuff, but you stare at it for 10 minutes and the 3D image just rises up. Once the 3D image rises up, you can't unsee it. But until you see the 3D image, it just looks like blotches and a bunch of nonsense on the paper until you see the 3D image rise up. It shouldn't be that hard for the people around us to finally be able to see the clown, but they can't see the clown. There's no clown. There's the clown. There's no clown. It's just so that we're not playing with the same buttons and levers that these creeps are. But what we see is so obvious at this point that I shouldn't have to make the Socratic argument and be able to deliver an argument structured like, Nietzsche. I shouldn't have to be so perfect to get the point across. So there's a reason outside of our perception why people can't see the clown, why your uncle can't see that a skyscraper can't just fall down for no reason in 8.5 seconds. There's reasons why somebody in your family just can't comprehend that the day after losing a family member is not the time to be giggling and laughing. That shouldn't be that hard, but yet it is. They don't see the clown. So we don't understand the why, or the people around us are so blind. We don't understand the mechanisms, techniques, technologies, magic, or spells that are being used. We simply have this catch-all term that it doesn't affect us, it affects them. We call it the download. There's nothing wrong with just applying some basic label. We never will have a full understanding of it. Okay? We can do no more than say these creeps pull reality buttons and levers we don't have access to. People are taking the download. What exactly does that mean? We don't know, but guess what? Who cares? That's fine. We'll never know exactly how it's pulled off, what magic, what technology, what buttons and levers. Just to recognize it's happening is good enough. Does understanding exact technology or spell or how potentially 5G is involved, does that do anything to help you understand yourself? No. So who cares? Remember, there's a lot of yellow breadcrumbs all over the place in this reality pursuit. Always recognize that it wants to be chased and take care of yourself.